The Lamborghini driver has been identified as William Dion McQueen Jr., and according to a crash report, he called police telling them he was involved in an accident on Sunday and doesn't remember much about it, that he didn't intentionally leave the crash site.
So growing up without a lot of money or being in a position where you need money and you don't have it, you realize the value of having available cash. And today's video sponsor Dave also recognizes that, and that's why they're here to help. Dave is the banking app that can help you get up to $500 instantly with extra cash. That's more money to fill your tank, buy a wedding gift, or catch up on bills. You can finally tackle those expenses that have been stressing you out without any hang-ups. There's no interest and no credit check needed. Millions of people have already downloaded the Dave app to get the financial relief that they need with extra cash. So if you're in a pinch and need some extra help, download Dave and think of it as a helping hand from future you. So download Dave today at dave.com/SSR. I put a link right below in the description. Sign up for an extra cash account and get up to $500 instantly. For terms and conditions, visit dave.com/legal. Instant transfer fees do apply. Banking is provided by Evolve, member FDIC. So check out dave.com/SSR, and I promise future you will thank you. All right, everybody, what's going on? Rob Ferretti here, and you only see the upside usually of renting exotic cars, right? I show you the whole thing, and people pick and choose like what they want to absorb. So a lot of people want to get into renting exotic cars, but not a lot of people are actually into renting exotic cars. Essentially why I don't operate out of Miami anymore. Because you can't be an exotic car rental company without two things. Without a legitimate fleet that's owned or operated by the company. There's one way to do that. You can either own the vehicles or you can get equipment financing, or however you want to do it, where the company is borrowing the money for the vehicles. Generally, if you're a new company, it involves a personal guarantee, which a lot of people don't want to do because A, they don't have the assets to support it, and if they do, they're not going to risk their own money for such a risky business. And then two, you have to have proper insurance. If you don't have either of those, or actually, if you don't have both of those, you are not a rental company, right? You're a guy renting a gypsy car, you're doing whatever. You are not a rental company unless you have those two things. Calling yourself a rental company is almost as overused as people that say they're serial entrepreneurs or just entrepreneurs in general, right? If you're not creating jobs, guess what? You're not an entrepreneur, right? If you're not developing something that employs other people, yeah, you could be a guy who goes out and acts as a middleman and you're able to hustle for some money. That doesn't make you an entrepreneur. That makes you a guy who can scrap together a living, or a girl who can scrap together a living and possibly make a lot of money for yourself. But unless you're creating things that then employ other people that allow them to have lifestyles, you're not really an entrepreneur to me. It's my definition. You can agree with it or disagree with it. This crash in Miami highlights another downside that happens when you rent out your exotic car and ultimately things don't go the way you planned. And everybody thinks it's all gravy, right? Oh, well, the guy's insured. Maybe not, right? This one specifically, and let's break down the accident here.
Just check out all this damage left behind, debris and car parts just scattered everywhere. Neighbors and police tell us that following this crash, the driver just ran away.
Are you seeing this? This guy hit the house.
It looked like a scene out of a movie. Surveillance cameras are rolling Sunday at this intersection on Northwest 11th Street and 7th Avenue in Fort Lauderdale. Watch as a white Lamborghini SUV blows through a stop sign, crashes into another car, and then goes airborne.
Guy goes plowing through in the Urus, and I've told you I don't really like the Uruses. I don't think you need that much horsepower in SUVs, especially when you give it to people. It's a very popular rental car, and lots of them get crashed for this reason. You go way too fast where you shouldn't be going too fast, and bad things happen. Miami is like a hotbed for gypsy car rental companies, right? That's why I don't even waste my time going down there. You're fighting to the bottom. There's people renting out cars well below the operating cost that I have to rent out the same car. And I think I'm pretty efficient, right? Which means they don't have the same cost structure, which means they may have a car, they may lease the car themselves, they don't have the right insurance, and bad things happen. And in this situation, Guy's flying down a side street, blows through a stop sign, hits another car, probably hurts the guy in the car, rolls the thing over, lands on the roof of a house, the car catches fire. Car's totaled, right? The other car's probably totaled. There's probably injuries. The driver of the Urus gets out, runs away, gets arrested. So all's good, right? It's a rental car, whatever. The insurance will cover it. Well, your insurance isn't going to cover it if you didn't do everything you were supposed to do. If you don't even have rental insurance, guess what? You're not going to have any coverage on it. And now you're out. You're looking at maybe, like, if you borrowed the money on it, maybe $300,000. You've got a loan for, the loan to value on the car is probably significantly more. There's no coverage. You're on the hook for $300,000 and your personal insurance denies the claim. Funny enough, weird timing, this accident happened about 2 weeks ago. I got a email from a guy who's not giving me the details, but hey, which attorney can I use? My insurance denied my claim for misrepresentation. And I was like, well, you got to give me the details, because I need to know what state it's in. I need to know what the misrepresentation was so I can give you the appropriate guidance and counsel. Because also, if you've genuinely misrepresented the use of your vehicle, then guess what? The insurance doesn't have to cover it. Don't waste my attorney's time. Don't waste your time. And you're going to just throw more money at it. You're screwed. And that's what people don't see. People don't see that could have been the first rental of that Lamborghini Urus. And some guy goes and Evel Knievel's it onto a roof. And guess what? There's no coverage. Even if there is coverage, right? Say it's a legit rental company renting the car and something happens. Like, I've had this myself. Somebody does something, I get $2,000 for the rental, $1,500, whatever it is. I have to argue with an insurance company for 3 months to get paid. They pay me out on the damage. I get to repair the car. They deny the loss of use. They deny the diminished value. And I'm doing a $2,000 rental that I'm now, just say, let's use a hypothetical, use an Urus. I'm paying $4,400 a month to have an Urus, right? $4,400 times 3 months, plus then the repairs another month, so it's 4 months. I'm paying $4,400. That's $18,000, plus I got my insurance payment in the car. It's another $2,000 a month. Start adding it up. That's $8,000 plus $18,000 is $26,000 I'm out of pocket without factoring in the 10% that car is worth less because of the diminished value, because it's been in an accident now. That's, just say, on a $250,000 car, another $25,000. That is how a $2,000 rental has just cost me $50,000 out of pocket for a $2,000 rental. Nobody sees that. Company absorbs that. That's just part of the operating business. Luckily, I'm large enough that I can. A lot of these smaller operators can't. They go, they run away from everything, they file for bankruptcy, they do all this stuff. That's why it's so important for you to have a properly registered, properly insured car. How can an insurance company claim misrepresentation, right? They can claim that the car is a personal car. It's not designed to be a rental car. It's not insured as a rental car. The insurance company signed paperwork not assuming the risk of renting it out. Guess what? They're not covering it. They're not bound to cover it. You could sue them till you're blue in the face. They're not bound to cover it. There's not, oops, I didn't know I was doing that. They ask you, you misrepresent it, you're not covered. I had a customer who misrepresented to save money on his insurance. He was married. He claimed that he still lived with his parents to keep his insurance premiums lower. Guess what? Guy flipped one of my Lambos in the rain. It wasn't like he was doing anything that crazy, but he just caught a curb the wrong way, and the way it went off the road down into the ditch, the thing rolled over. Next thing you know, his insurance company comes out and denies it. It's like, you said you live with your parents. You don't. You're married. You live over here with this woman in this place in a different state. We're not covering it. This policy is not responsible. Misrepresentation. An insurance company will insure you, but they evaluate their risk and then they price it accordingly. If you try to get around things, if you try to say you're doing something that you're not doing and you expect them to just be there, you're A, committing insurance fraud if they do cover it and they don't do their research, but B, you could be costing yourself a hell of a lot more money if they don't cover it and you're relying on that. So this is the unfortunate reality of renting out big dollar things. If you rent out smaller dollar things, if you go out and buy stuff on Turo, right? And you rent out $5,000 cars, your biggest exposure is you're out $5,000. Right? Completely different ball game, right? Like, it's like you can absorb that risk. If you're going out and leveraging your personal credit, taking out a personal lease on a vehicle instead of a company lease, all of this stuff leaves you open to a scenario where you could be on the hook for hundreds of thousands of dollars When you're flying high one minute, you think you're renting out Lamborghinis, you're hot shit, and next thing you know, things go south, you find yourself in this situation. I don't know the rental company that rented this car out. I don't know the customer that drove it. Driving that recklessly in a residential area serves as a reminder, don't do that, right? Especially when there's driveways and cross streets, there is a time and a place to speed. I know, Rob, you speed, but when you look where I speed out on open roads, I speed out on mountain roads. There's no side streets, there's no areas where I minimize the risk. I'm limiting myself. Can an antelope walk in front of the car? Sure, I accept that risk. However, or bison. I've been in places where there's bison, like that, moose. All sorts of animals could walk in front of the car. I get that and I assume that risk. But when you start adding driveways and other drivers and other factors into that, there's no reason to speed, especially in a Lamborghini Urus, which is a 5,000-pound flying brick. There's no reason to be doing, and I'm assuming that guy was doing like 100 in a 25, blowing through the stop sign and T-boning a car. All bad news. And just to be the type of guy, and I try to avoid these renters, it's maybe once or twice in my 20 years of renting cars. Has anyone ever run away from an accident? This is one of those. You never want to rent to somebody who's like irresponsible enough, because that means they've got nothing to lose, that they're going to get in an accident and just run away. Like leave the car, run away. And that's never a good thing. Luckily, that guy was injured, so he had to go to the hospital, and the police were able to catch up with him there. Whether it's going to amount to anything, the rental company is probably going to be the one holding the bag, if not the insurance company. Either way, this is being used to highlight everything that's not good about the rental industry that everyone thinks is great. Like, oh, cool. I rent out Lamborghini Uruses. I rent out this. I rent out that. I'm riding high, and this is a scenario that just illustrates that the industry is not as illustrious and glorious as it looks. The best way to also illustrate that is look how many companies have been doing it for a long time. And the answer is not many. There's probably less than 10 in the country that have been around for 10 years or more. So maybe even 5 years. And the amount of companies, you may have the guy who's always in business, but his company name always changes because of stuff like this, because he goes out of business, opens a business up under his girlfriend's name, wife's name, cousin's name, friend's name, new business partners, whatever it is. There's guys that have been in the industry forever, but it is a very tough industry. That is why insurance is so hard to come by, because most people don't do it right. They just want to get behind the wheel of that Lamborghini and live that life. Rob Ferretti, be safe out there. Take the lessons. If you want to be a rental company, you got to do two things. You got to insure the cars as rental cars with a commercial policy, and you also have to go out there and have the cars registered to the company. Two things. You can't borrow a car and rent it out. You can't. None of that. If you want to be a rental company and call yourself a rental company, both those things have to be true. Rob Ferretti, thank you for watching. Be safe out there, and try not to park a Lamborghini on anyone's roof, especially a house.